Welcome to the February 26th edition of the Braidwood Beat. Reality Checks, a teen group overseen by the Braidwood Area Healthy Community Coalition's project coordinator, Pete Delaquila, is based on a program called Engaging Youth for Positive Change, developed at the University of Illinois. The group recently chose tobacco retailer licensing as the policy that they would like to see implemented in Braidwood. Before they go about initiating this change, they are first learning about city government. Today, we are keeping it simple and letting the group take center stage. Due to the length of the interview, this beat will be made into a short series. The first excerpt today focuses on how city government in Braidwood operates.
How do you get elected to council?
You simply, if you decide that you want to run for city council, you get a nominating petition from City Hall. There's a period of time that you have between the time you pick up your petition. You need to get a certain number of names to sign it of registered voters. When they sign the petition, if you get enough names to sign that are good, qualified, registered voters, you're then put on the ballot.
So far with the EYPC group, the Reality Checks group, what have you guys learned?
Well, I was able to attend a city council meeting, and so I was able to learn how that all goes down and just certain processes that laws have to take and ordinances have to take.
I learned that we are a commission government.
Well, commissioners, when you run for a commission form of government, you actually run for the job. In my case, I originally ran for finance commissioner, which would have put me in charge of making sure the finances were done. There's a street commissioner, there's a public property commissioner. That's kind of, the public property commissioner is in charge of buildings and grounds and the sewer plant, things that the city owns that are like buildings and big things like that. The street commissioner is in charge of streets and drainage. The who am I missing here? Public safety, which is guy that would be in charge of pretty much the police department or if we had like a health issue or something like that.
How can youth become more involved and active in our local government?
Well, number one, it'd be great if more youth would show up at city council meetings, ask questions like you guys are. I really think that's important. We'd like to get more involved with the schools and getting people involved at a young age. If you look at the way our country is right now, so many people could vote in this country that aren't even registered. It's unbelievable. And even those that are registered, usually it's less than 20% in an election that come out and vote in your area, and that's like, to me, really, really an important right that we have as a country.
How does a proposal become an ordinance in the city?
Somebody brings it to a mayor or a city councilman, and if they think it's a good idea, you got to lobby them, convince them. And if they think it's a good idea, then usually in a small town like this, with the council set up the way it is, the people will talk to each other. You're not allowed to discuss things because of the Open Meetings Act that are going to be voted on in our town with only one other council member at a time. You can't get together as a group and make a decision ahead of time, which is fine. But so one way or another, maybe it's an email, maybe it's a phone call, the 5 people on the city council will find out what's going on, and maybe it's just a copy of something, throw it in their mailbox or at City Hall or something, and then they'll think about it, and then at the council meeting we may discuss it. But if everybody calls me up and says, hey, let's do this, just as an example, I would tell our city attorney, draw up the ordinance to do this, and then at the next council meeting we'd vote on it, and it would either pass or it wouldn't.
what is the procedure for being able to speak at a public meeting?
There's a period right at the start of the public meeting called public comment. You're allowed to speak. All you have to give is your name. You don't have to give your address or anything else, but you have to give your name so they have it for the record. And then usually the people in charge allow you to speak and say whatever you'd like to say for either 2 or 3 minutes. They usually set a time limit so that everybody gets a chance at the meeting that wants to speak. After that, there's another way you can do that too. You can call ahead of time and ask to be put on the agenda to speak about something. And if you ask to be put on the agenda, usually through the clerk's office, they'll put you on the agenda, and then you would be under, let's just say you wanted to speak about the tobacco ordinance, for instance. You could be put on under the mayor, and you would be recognized at that point, and we'd ask you to come up and tell us about the tobacco ordinance you want to pass, or the alcohol ordinance, or the swimming pool ordinance, or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Thank you to the Reality Checks Group for the quick brush up on the City of Braidwood's government structure. Next week, we will hear about recent improvements and some suggestions by the group on how they would like to see the city grow. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.